My port of call in London is Euston, and occasionally I bump into people who watch YouTube there, and I get stopped. It's always very satisfying. But Euston is a misery. Those people who go through it know exactly what I'm talking about. Once a transit hub, now it feels like a battleground. Now it feels like some sort of, it feels like an abattoir with all the travellers, like sort of chickens waiting to be waiting to go through. It's amid the chaotic scenes of commuters stampeding, which they do. They literally run down those platforms, those ramps. It's horrible. Stampeding towards their platforms with scant warning. The station's capacity to handle crowds is sorely tested. It's not helped by changing the location of the signboards. The signboards, when they were in front of the platforms, was tough, but at least they're all in one place. Now they're sort of parallel to the platforms, and there's two of them, and there's very little space between them to be able to see what's going on. There's an element of absurdity about the changes, and I remember when those changes were happening, and why did anybody not check? Overcrowding so severe that police and megaphones were employed on occasion for crowd control. Passengers are reported feeling as though they're in a survival game, like Squid Game, rather than a public transport terminal. Euston's aged infrastructure, complete with inadequate 1980s-era TV screens for updates, exacerbates the nightmare where passengers must scramble down ramps at perilous speed, often missing their trains or finding themselves on water-leaking carriages. The HS2 project, originally slated to extend to Euston, was seen as a potential solution to these very issues, promising a more robust transport infrastructure that could better accommodate London's booming commuter platform. However, the project has faced persistent delays and budget overruns, with recent plans even suggesting that it might terminate at Old Oak Common, miles away from central London, and so forcing people who want to speed up their journey from London to Birmingham actually having to then get on a tube or take an even longer journey into London itself. And going the other way, you don't quite get into New Street Station. So you're either going to have to hobble across the road, or I don't know quite how, or go up and down steps or something. I don't know how it's going to be managed, but it's not managed with the commuter in mind. It's not going to speed up anything. It's going to slow down transport. That's the oddness. Sadiq Khan and others have criticised that cutting Euston from HS2 would render the project practically useless, of course, for connecting the capital with the north. The only reason for endorsing the project at all is that it would mean Euston would get a revamp in some form, which is badly in need of. The Transport Secretary, Louise Hay, has voiced her opposition to the truncated version where it stops at the Oak Common thing, highlighting the absurdity of investing billions in a high-speed line that fails to reach central London, of course. The current Labour government remains evasive on how exactly they plan to fund the Euston extension, leaving the station and the entire HS2 project mired in uncertainty, and a lot of people's houses and farms sort of closed or bought up simply to make way for this monumental white elephant. As it stands, and it barely stands, Euston remains overwhelmed both by its daily crowds and by the bureaucratic impasse that has stalled its much-needed improvement. The situation encapsulates a microcosm of London's larger infrastructure challenges, outdated facilities struggling under ever-increasing demand, while political indecision and financial constraint prevents any meaningful purpose.